Alright, we're back. Gonna be doing some questions from you guys now. Gonna be taking all the questions from the Reddit thread right here, guys. Gonna start at the bottom and work our way up. And, alright, let's 7,000 bitches asks, what classes do you think benefit the most from the changes to Mage? Anybody jump in?
The aggro decks, like the Warlocks, clearly. This is the case, as you keep queuing into them.
Yeah. Trump?
Yep. And the ones that took a big hit were the healing decks, which used to be around because of the mages. And now those healing decks died to the aggro decks.
Which is
Rip.
sad, too. It's kind of cool to see the healing decks becoming a little bit more prominent.
I actually don't think the Paladin loses to the aggro decks very much.
It's still... It doesn't lose a ton, but it's...
Ixar was number one, like, the other day.
Ixar was number one because he was running a super fast lock deck. That's why.
Yeah, but I beat that with the heal deck.
How many times, though, in a row?
2.
Oh, that's not a big enough sample size, dude.
100%? What?
100%. Well, I mean, it's so dependent on that. Well, I guess there is Consecrated, and there's Wild Pyro, right?
I just Mad Bombered his first
Oh,
two
Mad
creatures.
Bomber, that's right. You have the Mad Bomber in that deck. Yeah, that's true. Mad Bomber helps a lot. Okay, actually, I skipped Intrigue and Con. He had kind of a similar question in the first one, but he says, is Blizzard giving ample time between nerfs to allow the meta to develop properly? Consider how many new competitive decks we've seen in a short period of time alongside class nerfs. I don't know. What do you think? I think it depends on the nerf, right? This Mage one I felt like was more to do with unfun, the unfun type of comments from the casuals, just a lot of the casual players, more so than the top of the competitive scene. So can't really complain them for making quick moves when it's based on that sort of reaction. What do you guys think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Too quick or no?
I think they should update the game more. I don't think that's ever a bad thing. You can never update the game too much. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, particularly in beta, this is the time to do it, right? So I know what they've said. Once they launch it, they don't want to be doing patches like every month or every 2 months. It's kind of maybe one of the reasons too. Trump, any thoughts or?
Yeah, I
Anything to
used
add?
to be one of the people who thought that they couldn't make enough updates. Like, yeah, sure, something's out of hand, just balance it. But as it turns out, the players are doing a really good job just finding ways around it as is. And I felt like the Mage change was uncharacteristically fast for them, but that's probably, like you mentioned, mainly because it's an unfun change, as opposed. And like a secondary effect is, it also hurts some of the top decks.
Yeah.
Which incidentally turns out to be pretty quote unquote unfun. So, hooray.
Okay. I see. Zelnick asked, what kind of mana curves do you think are the most effective for Arena right now?
I think there's a lot of people who just draft 1s and 2s, and I don't know if they do well overall, but they definitely do, definitely do some work every now and then. Like, most of my losses are, like, against that bullshit, and then Mage. That's like, all I was to, really.
Okay. Trump?
Pretty much the only thing I have to say on that topic is I'd say on 6+, the amount of cards you should have are probably maximum 3, unless they're gross cards like Fire Elemental or Savannah Highmane or etc.
Or Ironbark.
And on that one I'm not so sold about.
What? Oh, man.
Wow.
It's true.
Okay. All right.
For certain classes, you'll need more 2s than others, notably if you don't have a useful board-affecting hero ability. And then past then, you just want an even-ish amount of 3s, 4s, and 5s. So that's what I tend to look for.
Okay. Good advice there. All right.
I
So
usually like to dig in on the 4s, but sometimes you just don't get them. Usually you pick the good cards and see what it comes through.
okay. So Rumo asks, since the Mage nerf, it feels the new meta is shifting back to aggro. In aggro versus aggro matchup, it feels that the deck that goes first has a huge advantage. How do you see the meta evolving to compensate for this? And I think I kind of agree with him. Whenever I go Warlock versus Warlock, I feel like if I go first, I tend to win way more than I do when I go second. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, if you have
disagrees.
Okay.
No?
if you have a lot of one drops versus a lot of one drops, then the player who plays the one drops first wins. But if you're playing a deck without one drops and you pass your first turn, and then they play two cards, they do like Flame Imp, Blood Imp, then you're fucked. So
Yeah, I mean,
like aggro versus aggro, yeah, who goes first does pretty well if both players have good hands. But if you're playing a slow deck against aggro, if they go second, you're gonna get crushed. So I don't know. There's always gonna be some issues with it.
what do you think, Trump?
I'm someone who thinks that it's fairly well balanced, and I mean, I don't really care, is the thing.
Oh, you mean whether you go first or second, I guess?
Yeah,
In that
I think it's
matchup?
close enough that the going first versus going second feels different, but I feel like it's close enough.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What the thing I hate most about that matchup is just I feel like the game's pretty much decided in the first 3 or 4 rounds. Like you kind of know who's gonna win after that. All right. Next up, we got.
Actually, I drafted Hellfire and Shadow Flame in like a pretty aggressive Warlock deck yesterday.
Okay.
And you can do some pretty crazy turnarounds. I think if you see a lot of aggro, we might see some of that, like Hellfire and Warlock aggro, just to take back the board. Because
Yeah.
they always overcommit. I mean, that's the whole point of the deck.
Yeah, I know Kyrie's like for instance in the Kushraga, Kyrie's like used to at the very early stages have a Shadow Flame it just for that kind of comeback, or kind of changing the tides, right? Once you get behind versus a similar deck. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. All right, so Ruma has another good question. He asks, some of the legendary cards are must-haves in almost every deck, yet others you see very little. Do you feel these cards are too powerful, or are other legendary cards too weak? For example, Sylvanas, Blood Mage, or Blood Mage, Rag are almost in every deck, yet cards like the Beast, Nixia, Deathwing are never seen.
Deadwing? I've never seen that in the deck.
Deathwing.
Well,
I mean, I think this is an issue not just for legendary cards, right? There are a lot of cards that you don't see at all that are neutral or common or whatever.
yeah,
So,
the trend that I've seen is like the legendaries that are good are the ones that are played, and the ones that suck dick are not played. So when you see like the Beast not played, it doesn't really surprise me because that card is terrible.
you think it's
Yep.
you think it's terrible?
Yes, the Beast is terrible.
What do you think, Trump? It's a 6 mana card for 9/7, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of value.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think it's terrible.
Until it gets big gamed. What?
Well, sure,
So
but
in a
anything can get big
format
gamed.
with
I
not
mean,
a lot of big game. It's pretty good, right?
There's a lot of big games right now.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but you
suppose
can say
there
that
were.
about
I
anything.
think a lot of the legendaries are situational for their time. Like Deathwing was actually a card that was seriously thought about being run. I don't think Ragnaros is an auto-include. Sylvanas might be a bit strong right now. Onyxia potentially has a lot of value when you play it on an empty board in a control deck. These are all cards that have been thought about. And Blood Mage is also not an auto-include. And it's sort of iffy on whether or not you want to put it in a deck with only 4 spell damage cards. 6 probably, yes.
right. So I guess his question mainly is just philosophically, like, do you think they should buff up the cards that aren't being used right now? It's kind of a game design issue for any game, really. It's just
I don't know. There's a lot of legendaries. You can't have too many of them being good.
Yeah.
Like how do you buff like the Beast? I don't know. I feel like the
don't think you
weakness is that it's too big,
Yeah, I don't
and
think
the
you
fact
do
that
need
your
to buff
opponent
it.
gets something. So I don't think that card will ever be good. Then you have Sylvanas, and then the ability is insane.
Yeah, it's true.
So I mean, if you nerf Sylvanas to like a 4/4, it's still gonna see some use.
Yeah. What do you think? What about stuff like Malagus, right? Malagus was... I think some Warlocks used Malagus for a little bit, just with Soulfire and things like that. I mean, I remember doing that like months ago. But that card's never seen now.
Yeah, but it's one of
Yeah, I
those
don't know.
cards which could see use with
Later
more
on.
cards.
Yeah.
And even now, it could see use. I
I
think
feel
the point of a
Ysera.
legendary is that it should be interesting, and you would have to make a serious consideration to put it in your deck.
I feel Ysera is a lot better than Malagos, and people don't run it just because it's a little bit too slow. Like
Mhm.
9 is pretty slow, and it doesn't impact the board that turn like Rag does. So Rag one turn earlier, and it impacts the board usually that turn.
Rag too strong.
Yeah.
You think?
Well, I don't know. You have like Rag, and then you have like maybe Ysera, and then you have like Malagos, just a shitty version of Ysera.
Trump, what do you think? You think Rag's too strong?
It's not strong against certain decks, like Warlock, Rushy decks. Rag's actually quite bad.
Yeah, true.
It's
I think
okay. You give them
Sylvanas could
top.
use a nerf because that's the one card I think can fit into every deck. And
Yeah.
my general philosophy is if it's a card is good enough for like almost every deck, then it should probably get nerfed.
Yeah, I'd agree
I'll
with
say
that.
this.
I'd agree with
Every
that.
single one of my decks that I'm running right now is running Sylvanas. Especially now that Frost Mage is out. That's like the one deck that didn't run Sylvanas.
Mhm.
I think I agree. I think I am the same boat, except for, yeah, I think so. I think every one of my decks that I'm running in constructed right now has Sylvanas in it too.
I think the main issue is that there's very few mid-game legendaries. There's like the early game ones, which usually are just kind of weird, and then there's all the late game ones, which
Yeah.
are all like really good, but you can't pick that many of them, so you just pick the best ones. So the best ones are like Rag Ysera. And then in the early game, there's just not many that are good enough. And then in the mid game, you have like Sylvanas and like maybe Cairn, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I feel there's just not enough mid-game legendaries, and perhaps the ones that they have are a bit too strong.
Okay, cool. So we got a couple questions. I'm going to combine a couple of these questions about Paladin right now. One has to do with Sword of Justice being a little too strong. One has to do with Control Paladins being too strong. So they're kind of opposites there. What do you think of the Paladin class right now, both of you guys in constructed? Let's just talk about constructed.
I think it's sick good. I think that deck is actually amazing. I don't feel like I'm the underdog against anything. So
And the deck you're referring to is the Control Paladin one, the one that's
yeah,
the ones like
well,
Kiyuki's, but
it's
yours
similar.
is a little different. Yours is a little bit different than
Yeah,
Kiyuki's.
him and I talked when he like made the deck. I
Mhm.
guess we were doing like the Germany thing, and I made a few additions, and he adapted some of the additions, but hasn't adapted some of the other additions.
Mhm.
But I feel pretty confident that all my changes are good, and I tend to beat the other paladins. I think like Mad Bomber is insane in the deck, and like I can deal with aggro. I beat most of the slow decks. Um, there's you're gonna lose if you just get terrible draws, and that's about it. So it's kind of where like I guess where the Warlock aggro is, or where like the Mage rushdown deck is, where it's really dependent on what you get rather than your opponent. And I feel that's what makes a really powerful deck.
Trump seem to
I
disagree
don't
with
have
maybe
much
some
to
of that.
say other
Oh,
than
okay.
that the deck is very solid.
Mhm.
It's got a fair chance against most everything.
Okay.
Though I would say it has a slight weakness to aggro, though Crypt doesn't seem to think so.
I think so too. I think it does have a little weak. You're not going
Yeah,
to win 50% of your games against aggro.
I think you are.
See, I don't think so. At least my data whenever we were testing it, I think it was just a little bit under. It was like 40 maybe or something like that. But I do like the Mad Bomb. I like your Bomber edition though. Your Bomber edition instead of the Archer. I think I replaced the Archer with a Bomber. That was actually pretty good. And Tink so good. Tink is so good.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
would like to take credit for bringing Tink to the world, by the way.
You'd like to take credit, or you
Give
don't?
me credit.
Give
Give
all
me.
right, all right. Okay, we'll give credit to Crip for that one. It's like, what do you think of cards like Harrison Jones, Ooze, Black Knight, and Blood Knight? God, they're all really different. Will they be better in the current meta compared to the meta pre-Mage Nerf?
I think Blood Knight is considered pretty good right now because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people running the Squires. And I think some people are starting to run Black Knight as the decks are getting slower, but with a mage thing, maybe not. I use Black Knight and the combo shaman with ancestral healing. That's
Oh,
about it.
Black Knight's been getting really popular. I mean, that's what I've been seeing. Trump, you think the same with Black Knight at least?
Yeah, Black Knight is really good against the Druid decks that have recently grown to popularity, although
Yeah.
with Paladins becoming dominant, apparently, maybe Black Knight is not good. So it's really interesting how these situational legendaries sort of phase in and out. Same with Harrison Jones and Ooze. They used to be really good back when Rogue was a powerhouse, but that was before they got nerfed. They could be
Yeah.
better now, since Paladins are really
Yeah, True
susceptible to
Silvers.
Harrison and Ooze.
God, True Silvers were tough, man.
Well, it's right now with what Trump's mentioning is the common paladin control deck only has one taunt and it's Tyrion.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, if you kill it instantly with Black Knight, you feel good, but I mean, you still get the True Silver.
Well,
You
they get the
can't, like,
Ashburn
silent,
that kills them,
yeah,
right?
or the Ashburn, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't like silence and then Black Knight it, because then it's not a taunt anymore. So you to just it's an okay answer, but it's one card in your deck just to deal with one card in their deck. So that's terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I really think Black Knight is only like a must-have if you play the shaman stuff that I've been doing. That's about it. Other than that,
Well, there's a lot.
you're running the risk.
There's a lot of things
Yeah.
a lot of combo-ish type of decks that could use Black Knight. Like even the Arta's Warrior thing that was on Reddit today, that could definitely use Black Knight too. But the biggest value for Black Knight definitely is against Druid, like Trump said, against those Ancient of Wars, and then Earth Elementals for Shamans. Just those big taunts. I mean, this is a great card for that. Crazy value. Blood Knight's cool though. I've used Blood Knight a few times too. It's pretty nice. Let's see. Do you think the Frozen Effect nerf was the correct route to take? Well, we already talked about this. I don't know what to talk about. Okay, Krip, how viable do you think the Shaman Ancestral Heal Spirit deck is now that the Freeze Mage is less viable? You might want to explain what he's talking about, by the way. I don't think everybody knows your deck.
Okay, well you play Ancestral Healing and Ancestral Spirit, so you can do like a turn 3 Injured Blade Master, and then you heal it up and give it taunt. So it's a 4/7 taunt on sometimes turn 2. And other times when you're playing against aggro, because they sometimes don't kill off your creatures, you put like an Injured Blade Master on 3, and then on 4 you run it into like a 2/2 creature, and then you do Ancestral Healing Coin Faceless, and then you win the game instantly. And then Black Knight has the value because you can use Ancestral Healing to give anything taunt and then kill it off instantly. So if they have like Ragnaros, you give their Ragnaros taunt and then you kill it with Black Knight. So you traded a 0-cost spell for Ragnaros.
I didn't realize that's... Oh, that's what you do with it. Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's ridiculous.
Huh.
So yeah, there's a lot of like mini combos and stuff like that, and the deck does pretty well against the aggro lock because that's all I was playing, and I
Yeah.
won most of the games last night. So it's pretty good.
It's interesting. Trump, have you gotten a chance to see this deck that he's talking about, or?
I've heard about it. Sounds cool.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Dark Aries asks, when should I play a Dust Devil as an opening gambit? Wait till I can hide behind my taunt totems, or buff it up so I can't get pinged. Basically, how should he use it? That's what he's asking. Against a mage, it's pretty much worthless to play it, right? Unless you can buff the health at least one. But
It's okay against the mage if you can like play 3 of them on turn 2. You can only ping 1.
Well, now that Cone of Cold... Okay, yeah, now that Cone of Cold's 4, it sucked to get them all coned, but... Yeah, there's not very many good moments to play this, but I would say if you can buff it, like with a Shattered Sun Cleric, you could at least get it to 14.
I played...
But,
Some people are criticizing my Shaman. I played Shaman yesterday off stream. I played like 5 games, and I won all of them. I don't know. And all 5 games were against aggro locked. I'm like almost rank 7 now. This pretty well.
you didn't beat my Agalock, man.
Dude, I was crushing you, and you top deck like Soulfire with your charger or something.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Can having a good? That's kind of a weird question. What with rank ladders resetting on a month basis? What's the best way for a constructed player to get noticed and invited to tournaments? Asks J Roseo. I don't think there's not that many invite only tournaments these days. I mean, if there are, it's usually just very popular, popular personalities and players in the community. But there are a ton of just open tournaments every day. You can play Mana Grind or ESL or Team Liquid opens. So don't even worry about invitational only.
I mean, Trump and I get invited, and we don't actually play constructed very much. So
What does that mean?
what it means is you gotta get the views. So these guys are like, oh, these guys got viewers,
Gotta
right?
get the views.
Well, we're gonna invite them to our tournament, so we get the viewers.
No, I mean the real talk is you can take that route, or you can just win a lot of tournaments. Like ChanManV said, there are a lot of open ones, and you'll get noticed if you win a few of those.
Yeah, and we're gonna start having more players that are winning some of these tournaments on this show too coming up once we.
I think Curie has won most tournaments out of anyone, and I have not seen him in any invitational yet.
Curie's waiting
Done.
for us to be done with.
So I
Arena
dispute
talk.
that point.
Yeah.
You gotta get the views. That's it. You're not getting invited any other way.
I mean, how many invitations have there been? There haven't been that many. I mean,
It's been enough.
your
that
Germany
Curie
thing
hasn't
wasn't a
been invited.
tournament. It was like an event, more like a special event more than anything else. Let's see. Common list for cards that look for. Okay, most tier 1 decks contain multiple legendaries. In general, what attributes in common or less rare cards should one look for when attempting to replicate these decks without the legendaries? Oh, that's kind of a hard question, I guess. I mean, you kind of have to look at what effects, I guess, each of these legendary cards have, and hopefully the common cards have it. If it's a big card, then hopefully you can have just the biggest common or less rare card you can get to kind of match up to it. But I don't know. Like, how would you answer that question, guys?
I think it's not hard to answer. You put in something casting similar cost. It'll usually have a higher attack and health bonus because it'll probably lack the special feature the legendary has.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Okay, trying to go through a few more here. What are strategies for taunt? Lubol asks. I like to have several taunt cards in my deck, but they are usually of higher mana cost. Any suggestions as how to work them into a constructed deck?
Defender of Argus.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sun Fury Protector, I think, is pretty good as well.
You know what? Okay, speaking of Sun Fury and Defender of Argus, what do you guys think of the whole Ancient Watcher stuff?
Good.
It's
Trump,
good.
you've been running it recently, right? A
I've
little
been
bit.
running it in some decks.
Mhm.
I think it's a good way to do it, especially if you also have silences along.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to answer that question, yeah, just against aggro, it's great because aggro these days don't tend to have removal outside of maybe like the Warlock will have Soulfire, and that's maybe a couple Soulfires, and that's about it. So just use it when you can, I guess, or use it in that kind of 4-5 range, something like that. Okay, so Chon 231 asks, can each guest name their 2 favorite decks to play? They don't have to be the best or have gotten the most wins, but the most fun. That's a good question. Who wants to go first?
Holy Raz.
Okay.
Alright, I'll name one. Warrior Molten Giant, 1-turn kill with Charge
Yes.
and Commander and Brewmaster.
You have to name 2. He asked for 2.
Yeah.
No.
I think
Okay.
Krip take his second now.
Okay, so let me name one. I think the shaman with the stealth and Wind Fury. I call it Ninja Fury. My Ninja Fury deck is one of the most fun for me. Krip, second one.
Um, it's probably Miracle Rogue. It's just fun, like crushing the slow decks.
Okay.
I like just your basic shaman deck with the earth elementals and fire elementals and hex, just because I like playing with all those strong cards.
Yeah. My last one's probably maybe Ramp Druid. I think just Innervate's just kind of fun. It's just fun getting Ancient of Wars out on turn 3 and stuff like that. It's good stuff. Might not be the most effective, but it's a lot of fun at least. Okay, Wizaki asks, Elven Archers, why am I seeing it everywhere? Trump, you rated it so low in Arena, so does it have value in Constructed?
Yeah, I'll take this one first.
Yeah, take it.
That rating, the Arena rating list is a little bit old, and I've changed some of my valuations. Elven Archer in particular, I've moved to the average column.
Okay.
I was convinced by Hafu, actually, that I should think of it as using the Paladin ability and the Mage ability for 1 mana. Incredible value. Of course, the abilities are generally overcosted, but I mean, if you think of it that way, it's okay. Why is it in Constructed? Because sometimes you just have stuff that has 1 health, and it turns out to be really efficient to take it out with the Elven Archer. Although Kripparrian will tell you that Mad Bomber works twice as well.
Costs twice as much too.
Basically, the Elven Archer is a boar and a wisp combined into one. So it's basically still crap.
I don't think it's that bad, but I do think that Bomber is good. So an Archer is a great answer to an Argent Squire opening. Well, unless he follows up with a coin cleric or something like that, but it's a decent answer to that. And like you said, like in the Paladin deck with Equality, Archer's pretty. Archer, at least you know what you're going to kill whenever you play Equality, versus Mad Bomber, which can be hold your breath and hope you hit the right stuff.
Yeah.
So it's decent. I've had some success with the Archer. Okay, Crip _off asks, how does German OJ compare to Canadian OJ?
I think Canadian OJ is better. I had some high class German OJ, and it was okay. It was better than like Romania OJ. Romania OJ is like concentrated and crappy. So it was, it was first world level OJ, but not quite Canada level.
All right. What'd you
All
guys
I know
eat there?
about that is Kripparrian got a specially ordered premium OJ on Germany.
Yeah.
They treated us pretty well there.
Nice.
Yeah, I did.
Nice. What'd you guys eat? What's the German cuisine? I don't even know.
Subway in Germany is terrible.
Subway. Trump, you were eating Subway too?
No, but the fast food there is pretty good. It's just like America.
Except for Subway. American Subway is actually the best Subway. German Subway is actually the worst Subway.
Oh boy. Oh, the Germans are gonna be rioting now. Okay, let's see. One more question, guys, and then we'll call it a show. That's not really great. Let's see. Favorite card in the game? We already done that. We've done that recently, right? That's kind of something we've done very much. Okay, so here's a question from Racket. What is the best class for aggro rush decks? Let's just ignore the lock. All right.
Did I just see what is a legitimate seller for beta keys?
The price of beta keys just like dropped hard with the announcement from the director today. It's like Bitcoin drops, man. Yeah. So anyway, let's see what other classes are really good for aggro rush decks. What would you recommend? I actually was playing Kayuki today. Kayuki was trying an aggro shaman deck that was pretty decent. I don't know if it's better than Lock, but it was pretty good. Any other classes you can think of?
Aggro Paladin's good against everything except aggro Warlock, which is everything that you're playing now. So
Yeah.
if that changes, then aggro Pally is gonna have some life.
Yeah, and you've got your good old aggro mage, which finishes with Pyroblast. You've got aggro rogue, which is just fast.
I think the aggro rogue is still like a controlly rogue.
Yeah, agreed. But looking from just which is the best, do you think, out of the aggro? Probably Power.
There's no best. Otherwise,
I think we're writing off
boring.
aggro hunter too early here, guys.
Aggro hunter.
What do you mean? I made a hunter deck.
You made an aggro
Weapons
hunter deck?
and every charger in the game. Yeah.
How'd it do?
Well, it beat the slow priest decks.
Okay, something. All right, well, why don't we wrap the show? It's a fun show, good stuff, and I think we're going to be back next week. You guys cool for next week?
I guess.
Any crazy Christmas thing going? Okay, all right. So we're going to be back next week, guys. Right after Christmas, we can show what we got for Christmas, or I can show what my kids got for Christmas. I probably won't get anything for Christmas, but let's do some shout outs. Krip, you want to start off?
I don't know, man. You always like throw this to me first,
Oh,
and like I don't have time to prepare.
Okay, I'll go first.
all right. Let Trump
Okay.
go first. Trump, you go first.
I'd like to give a shout out to Krip, who was a excellent friend during my trip to Germany, and it's actually because of that I went off on him earlier. It's because I've grown so close to him that we are able to basically argue like spouses now, except we're not married.
Oh my goodness. Ooh. The love in this the love on this stream right now. This is awesome.
I gotta
I'd
throw
also
up.
like to I'd also like to give a shout out to everyone who has voted for me for Team Razor's competition. I'm actually in the running for Razor Team of the Year 2013.
Where's that link? Where's that link, man? Where's that link?
Best team, yo. Let me give you the link.
Let's link it. Let's vote him. Oh my god, I would pay money to see Trump win as Team of the Year for Razor. That would be the troll of the year, I think. For at least a lot of teams. I'm not saying that you don't deserve to be Trump, but that would be pretty funny. Here we go. All right, guys, vote for Trump here, guys. Team of the Year. Does it actually give us the current standings? No?
It doesn't, but I've been informed that I'm actually fairly competitive.
Yeah. All right. Okay, vote there, guys. Razorzone.com/teamrazor.
Oh,
Okay,
I
any
got
more
a shout out.
Any more shots? Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
I got it. Shout out to Path of Exile for winning Game of the Year.
Yeah? Oh,
GameSpot, I think it was.
wow. Nice.
And pissing off like all of Reddit/games. The tears were delicious. I'm done.
Do you think it deserves it?
Yeah, played the game, of course.
I know, that's what I mean, but do you think it deserves it? Because I know you played the game, so.
It's the game that I played the most last year, and then it gets Game of the Year. I'm like, okay, well, fuck.
All right, good stuff. All right, I'll wrap things up by a big shout out to these two guys for doing the show with me today. It was a lot of fun. All of you viewers for coming and hanging out with us, and the VODs are going to be available. YouTube.com/ChanManV as always. I'll have them up right after the show. And you guys streaming right after?
I think Trump might. I'm up in like an hour and a half or so.
Okay, cool. Go check out Trump right after this. And follow us on Twitter, @ChanManV, @Kripparrian, @TrumpSC. And follow this channel if you enjoy Valuetown or my other shows and Filtered Wednesday Night Spreads. Well, Wednesday Night Spreads is going to be tomorrow, guys. Blizzard's doing a StarCraft 2 arcade marathon. And Wednesday Night Spreads is going to be part of that. Lots of StarCraft people. So if you're into StarCraft also, come and play arcade with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's going to be it, guys. So for Kripparrian, Trump, and ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.